Welcome to the deep dive. Today we've got, well, a fascinating set of sources. They connect some really high-tech engineering around pure air with some pretty deep philosophical ideas about living longer.
It is an unusual mix, definitely, but the link is crucial.
Yeah.
We're looking at something called the maze air purification system, and alongside that, a philosophy called proactive wisdom for preventing failure.
And the core claim here is pretty bold, isn't it?
It is. It suggests that the toxins all around us aren't just, bad for our health in the obvious ways. They're actually limiting our intelligence, how long we live, even our basic biology.
So our mission today is to really get into this technology. It's designed to basically reverse that trend, aiming for what the sources call a zero-toxin human environment.
Exactly. And it's not about tweaking our genes or anything like that. It's about cleaning up the environment we live in so our natural potential can, finally emerge.
Like creating the right conditions for growth.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's like preparing the foundation before you build the house. Clean up the operating theater, you could say.
Okay, before we dive into the actual tech, the filters and circuits, let's talk about that philosophical side first. It really sets the stage. We start with this master's insight.
Right. And it draws this really sharp contrast between living reactively versus proactively.
Most of us live reactively, I suppose. We wait for things to go wrong.
Yeah, you wait for the check engine light before you look under the hood. You only think about a cure when you're already feeling sick.
The master sees that approach as fundamentally setting yourself up for failure.
Exactly. He pushes for a life built on, let's call it, preventative fortification.
Mm.
He gives this personal example. Starting in his early 30s, he began taking a daily calcium pill and a multivitamin.
Okay, but not because a doctor told him to.
No, not at all. It wasn't for any illness. It was purely thinking ahead. He'd read somewhere that these might help prevent bone issues decades down the line. So he just started doing it consistently.
I can imagine some people thinking, well, that's a small thing. How do you even know if it worked?
But that's where the philosophy gets really interesting. It's not about proof in the moment. His thinking wasn't, this pill will make me live to 100.
It was more about risk management.
Sort of. It was more like, I'm going to do what I can today, reasonably, so that failure is less likely to sneak up on me later. You can't point to today's pill and say, it saved your hip 50 years from now.
But you can look at the result long term.
Right. You can see the master, years later, still standing straight, without the typical stoop or frailty. And you see the potential value of those decades, of small, consistent, proactive steps. His health becomes the kind of visible evidence.
So the lesson for us, for the listener, is about dealing with uncertainty then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The master's teaching is, when you face the unknown, choose the action that's harmless but might be beneficial. If the calcium pill doesn't hurt you, and there's a chance it helps, why not?
And that proactive mindset isn't just about vitamins, obviously.
No, it applies everywhere. And bringing it back to our main topic, the environment. Preventing failure means acting today on things you can't fix tomorrow.
Like the air we breathe. If you wait until you have breathing problems or headaches, or that feeling of brain fog before you worry about air quality,
Then the damage is likely already happening. Those ultrafine particles, the ones that can get into your bloodstream, even your brain.
yeah,
The harm might already be done.
Yeah.
You've lost that chance for optimal function.
which really highlights the need for better solutions because the sources argue pretty strongly that what most of us have now just isn't enough.
Absolutely. They're clear.
Mm.
Standard air purifiers, the ones common in homes and offices, they just can't cope with the complexity of modern pollution.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What exactly is wrong with the traditional tech? What problem is the maze system trying to solve?
Well, the go-to technology is the HEPA filter, right? High efficiency particulate air filter. And look, they're good at what they do.
They catch the big stuff.
Yeah, dust, pollen, mold spores, larger particles down to about 0.3 microns. They get rid of 99.97% of those particles, including most of the PM 2.5 stuff people hear about.
Right, I have one at home. It seems pretty decent. For someone not living next to a factory, isn't that generally okay? Why the push for something more extreme?
That's a fair question. And for just basic improvement, sure, a good HEPA filter helps. But the maze system, according to our sources, is aiming higher. It's about unlocking optimal health, reaching that full human potential.
And HEPA filters alone can't get us there.
No, because they leave some critical gaps. Two main ones, actually.
Yeah.
And they're quite serious.
Okay, what are they?
First, HEPA filters miss the really, really tiny stuff, the ultrafine particles. Think PM 0.01, even smaller. These are so small they slip past our body's defenses.
And go deeper.
Much deeper. into the bloodstream, and critically, they can cross the blood-brain barrier. The sources link these particles to long-term inflammation, neurological issues,
Yeah.
basically silent damage accumulating over time.
So a slow failure we don't notice until it's potentially too late.
Precisely, that's the first gap. The second is gases. HEPA filters are physical barriers. They don't do anything about gaseous pollutants.
Like what?
Things like VOCs, volatile organic compounds, fumes from paints, furniture, cleaning supplies, also industrial smog, car exhaust that seeps indoors. HEPA doesn't touch those.
And we should also touch on those negative ion generators. Some people buy those thinking they purify the air. The sources seem quite critical of them.
They are, and for good reason. The idea sounds good, charge pollutants so they fall out of the air. But releasing negative ions freely into a room, uncontrolled, that can cause problems.
How so?
Well, those charged particles can recombine. Tiny pollutants might clump together, maybe forming larger, potentially even more harmful compounds right there in the air you're breathing.
Plus, they don't actually remove the pollutants, do they?
No, they just charge them, so
Yeah.
you might end up with heavier charged gunk floating around. And some models can even produce ozone, which is definitely not good for your lungs.
Okay, so the takeaway is you need to physically capture and remove the contaminants permanently.
Exactly. That's the core principle behind the maze systems approach. It's a 5-step process designed to address all these flaws.
All right, let's walk through it. Step 1 sounds familiar. HEPA filtration.
Yes, it starts there. Get rid of the bigger stuff first. Dust, pollen, the easy targets. It's the necessary first pass.
Then step 2 is where it starts to differ. Controlled, negative ion charging, and pathogen neutralization.
And that word controlled is absolutely key here. Unlike those room ionizers, no free ions are released into your living space.
It happens inside the machine.
Correct. The air goes through a specific sealed chamber where it's hit with a high-intensity negative charge. This does two things. It tags the pollutants electrostatically, making them easy to grab later, and it neutralizes airborne pathogens.
Like viruses and bacteria.
Exactly. It breaks apart those little aerosol clusters they travel in, making them inactive and ready for capture.
Okay, now for the really unique part. Steps 3 and 4. This is where the maze name comes in, right? The electrostatic collection maze box and the labyrinthine structure. How does step 3 lock things down?
Step 3 is the capture mechanism. After being charged in step 2, the air flows into this sealed maze box. Inside are high-intensity electrostatic plates. Think of them like super strong magnets for charged particles.
And because they're charged, they stick.
Instantly and permanently. The force is strong and the box is sealed, so there's virtually zero chance of them getting knocked loose and re-entering the airflow. They're trapped for good.
And step 4, the labyrinth structure. That's the physical path.
Yes, this is the clever bit, the physics behind it. They call it electrostatic impaction. Imagine you're forcing the air, carrying those tiny charged particles through a series of sharp twists and turns, the labyrinth.
Okay.
Now, those ultrafine particles, the PM0.001s, they have almost no mass. So when the air current makes a sharp turn, they can't follow easily. They lack the inertia.
Like a tiny car trying to take a corner too fast.
Exactly like that. They effectively skid out of the airflow because they're trying to travel in a straighter line, because they're negatively charged.
They slam right into the positively charged walls of the maze.
Precisely. They collide with the metal walls lining the labyrinth. Even if they miss the first turn, the maze forces them through turn after turn, ensuring maximum chance of collision and capture.
So it guarantees capture of those nano-sized particles that just drift through normal filters. That's how they achieve this Air 6-free performance.
That's the goal. Dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free, smoke-free, odor-free, and heavy metal-free.
Heavy metals free. That's interesting. You don't usually think about heavy metals in, say, office air. Where would those come from?
It's subtle pollution. It could be residue from nearby industry or even tiny particles from vehicle brake pads wearing down. These become airborne, get drawn into buildings. The system aims to catch these often overlooked contaminants too.
And finally, step 5 is releasing the purified air. The source calls it ultra-clean air, almost like purified oxygen, claiming it boosts mental clarity.
Yeah, and that ties right back to the bigger idea. It's not just about preventing illness long term. It's about optimizing function now. By removing those environmental stressors, especially the tiny particles believed to affect the brain.
You allow the brain to work better. It's not biological evolution, but maybe cognitive enhancement through environmental purity.
That's the argument. Removing the artificial limits imposed by pollution.
So this level of purity, What are the applications? It sounds like more than just a better home air purifier.
Oh, definitely. The scope they envision is huge. They break it down into roughly 4 areas. First, the individual level, a personal wearable device.
Like carrying your own clean air bubble.
Essentially, yes. A lightweight unit for people very sensitive to air quality, biohackers, or professionals working in polluted areas. Constant protection wherever you go.
Then automotive makes a lot of sense. Car interiors can get pretty toxic.
They really can. Concentrating fumes, off-gassing plastics, road dust. This system aims to clean all that and provide an oxygen-enriched environment. They specifically mention reducing driver fatigue this way.
Interesting safety angle. And
Yeah.
scaling up to buildings.
Right. Residential and office systems. Creating these purity zones in homes, corporate offices, hospitals, schools. The argument there is improved health, fewer sick days, but also better focus and productivity.
A cognitive boost for the whole workforce or student body.
That's the idea. And finally, the biggest scale, industrial and government use. Maybe cleaning up urban air on a larger scale, but also critical applications.
Like what?
Military, aerospace, maybe even deep-sea exploration. Anywhere that absolute air purity is mission critical. And the sources connect this to the ultimate challenge.
Space travel.
Exactly. If you can guarantee Air 6-free performance on Earth, you're developing the kind of life support technology needed for long journeys in space, where recycled air has to be perfect.
Wow. Okay, that really brings it all together. This isn't just selling an appliance. It's positioned as like foundational tech for humanity's next step.
That's the narrative. It's the ultimate expression of that proactive wisdom.
Yeah.
By systematically removing the environmental factors that speed up aging and impair thinking.
The claim is we can extend our healthy lifespan naturally without needing to resort to, say, complex genetic engineering.
We're just letting the innate human potential, which has been held back by a polluted world, finally express itself.
The quiet wisdom of prevention, but applied at the environmental and cellular level.
And remember that final message from the master, that taking proactive steps today is like a quiet form of prayer. This tech seems to embody that. It improves life here and now.
While also potentially solving the air purity problems needed for future space exploration.
It's safeguarding the future on two fronts, you could argue.
So making that proactive choice today really does shape what futures are even possible tomorrow, from the air in your home to potentially the air in a starship.
It's a powerful connection.
So the question for you listening is, where else can you apply that proactive wisdom? What small, harmless, potentially beneficial action can you take today to prevent failure and safeguard your future? Something to think about this week. Thanks for diving deep with us.